Hey everyone, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever and whenever you're listening. Welcome to the Your Money, Your Life podcast, episode 193 of the podcast. Before we get into the episode, make sure you like, subscribe, 5-star rate, and review the pod wherever you're listening. Also share with family and friends because we're going to get right into it. And we're first going to start with the market update of the week and give you a little insight onto what is going on over the past week since we last spoke. So the big issue, big thing that came out was the consumer price index numbers. The consumer price is a closely followed inflation gauge. So we saw the month over month numbers, which was an increase of 0.4%, 0.4%, 0.4 of a basis point on the month, and a 3.7% from a year ago. So on a year over year basis, the same time last year, the Labor Department showed a 3.7% increase for consumer prices. So the estimates were, this was slightly higher than the estimates. The estimates were 0.3% month over month and 3.6% year over year. So that's the big thing. So we really stripping out, so the core strips out food and energy costs, and we saw the core was 4.1% on a year over year basis. So here's a chart showing where the trend has been on the core and the total CPI and how we went from good times 2021 when everybody's getting everything. And then of course, you see it that affected inflation, the rate of inflation, and now we're seeing that a little bit dip. But the Fed wants that to go to 2% because people, of course, are complaining about prices, the pump, prices of food, price of restaurants, prices of all this stuff, and it's affecting consumers. And so the Fed wants to see that slow down a bit more. That's why rates have been raised so much. That's why you're seeing a lot of credit card, debt. You've seen a lot of different things, savings rates slow down. So that's the big thing. So shelter costs were the main factor. It seems like an inflation increase. The index for shelter, which makes up 1/3 of CPI. That's why housing is going to be very important over the next several months because the Fed will probably want to see that slow down a little bit because it's still pretty hot. Services also posted a 0.6% gain, and we're up 5.7% on a 12-month basis. So a lot in here we really dive into. You can really see which components are higher, lower. So you really have to dive into the numbers, but it's really crucial in understanding where we are headed. With that, we'll look at the chart. The last 5 days was actually a fairly decent time in the market. We saw a 3.46% increase on last week. Market kind of rebounding from what we saw over the last month or so of a dip, right? So we're kind of rebound a little bit of that. We're still off the highs at the end of July, but still year to date, almost 14% on the market this year to date. So a lot of interesting stuff going on in the market. It's going to be, again, more volatile as we see more about inflation, what the Fed is going to do, if there's going to be a potential one more rate hike. The meeting minutes from the Fed did come out. Most Fed officials were saying that they did see another rate hike prior to the end of the year. We've said that. I've said that since the beginning. So we'll see how that all plays out. We'll first get into our actual current events of the week. The big event, there wasn't crazy business news this week, I would say, but we'll start with YouTube is beating Netflix among teens. So American teens are now watching more YouTube than Netflix. This is a new survey by Piper Sandler. Netflix share of daily video consumption dropped to 28.7% as time on YouTube rose. Of course, YouTube is Google-owned video site, now claims 29.1%. And it's a semi-annual survey. I don't know how many people they surveyed, which is interesting to me. I could see that, though. I think YouTube had just so much content from more it's not scripted. It's just authentic creators putting out content, and people that are younger tend to want to get their information from a space where the team is a little bit more authentic, a little bit more personal. Even though these creators on YouTube, on TikTok, on streamers, they're getting so big that a lot of them are just creating their own content. Like they're starting to you probably have to write stuff if you're going to keep people entertained on a stream or on in IRL stream, meaning in real life stream. So YouTube, all these other platforms are really doing a good job finding these young consumers, and they really lean on YouTube and TikTok for information, right? They'd rather get it from someone they've been watching stream forever than some source on whether it's a bigger TV linear platform or a Netflix, right? Like I think Netflix has just got the best content as far as scripted stuff, or not a reality TV show. But that's interesting to know. We were speaking about inflation just a second ago, and you just saw that Disney is raising its theme park prices. So Disney is charging more for the magic of its US theme parks. Single day tickets remain at 104 for Disneyland and 109 for Walt Disney. Prices for annual passes and parking have gone up at both parks. In addition to single tickets for more popular days, multi-day tickets and add-ons like Genie Plus and Park Hopper are going up at Disneyland in California. This comes as Disney's looking to boost revenue. So a couple ways these businesses can boost revenues. One, they can sell more of whatever they're selling, right? And when in a consumer hurt time, that's probably potentially lowering prices, doing rebates, doing discounts to try to sell more. That will potentially boost revenue potentially if it's a good product. Or two, you can raise prices. And so Disney's going the raise price route. It's going to be a battle for consumer discretionary companies to keep market share, to do well in a time where consumer is supposedly going to get weaker, potentially. That is what's going to possibly happen here over the next several months, especially we finish off Q4 of this year. So that's going to be really interesting to watch. Another thing that's interesting is I've never been to Disneyland. Can someone help me out? I've never been. I'm not a big Disneyland person. I wonder if all the people that I'm listeners that have kids have gone, because I feel like that's a kid thing. I've never gone. More strikes. There was United Auto Workers. They moved their strike. They have now pushed their strike to a Kentucky manufacturing plant, a Kentucky plant, which is one of the big plants. So the United Auto Workers have increased their strike. They've increased the tensions. And now we're seeing that talks are suspended in the actor strike. The talks are suspended between Hollywood Actors Union and major entertainment studios nearly 3 months in the strike. The Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which represents the studios, say late Wednesday that the divide between it and the Actors Union, SAG, AFTRA, is too great. So they're too far away to even come to the table and speak right now. Not a good sign for actors, and in the sense of actor just in general, like content actors, consumers. It's not a good sign if they can't even right now meet and speak about where they're at. So one major source of contention appears to be that SAG desired viewership bonus, which the studios say would cost $800 million a year. The union says that the figure is inflated by as much as 60%. So they're crunching numbers on both sides. SAG is saying, hey, we want a viewership bonus. People are viewing this content that you guys put out, or you bring it on a Netflix platform or somewhere else when it was dying, and now it's bumping viewers. We want to be compensated for that work, which I 100% agree with. The studios say, no, that's going to cost us $800 million a year, chew into our profits. We don't want to do that. So again, we're negotiating, battling. We're going to see so much more of that. And again, you're going to see more strikes. We talked about this. People want more compensation with the price of everything rising. That's a big thing that you're going to see going forward. In more news, I saw that the US government wants EV buyers, electric vehicle buyers, to get instant $7,500 tax credit, flattening a big speed bump. So snagging an EV could be a lot easier. The Treasury Department is proposing a rule that would let electric vehicle and plug-in hybrid buyers get a $7,500 in tax credits right at the dealership. So they don't have to go home, do any file taxes or any of that stuff, right at the dealership. So most EV drivers have been eligible for the clean vehicle tax credit since last year, but confusion over who qualifies and which models are eligible had made the process a hassle. So now they're trying to just work with the dealerships, get the $7,500 right off the cost of the car. I saw a tweet about this. Someone said you could get someone that has a lot of liquidity. They will give you the amount to buy the car. You go in, you get the $7,500. You split it, you sell the car back. It was some sort of like finagle on this because now it'll be directly from the dealership. So essentially, someone with liquidity could arbitrage this somehow. And I have to find that tweet, but there could be ways to arbitrage this for highly liquid folks to just use this right away $7,500 credit. Because again, apparently you could probably sell the car back and maybe it's worth X amount. So this is an interesting development. You heard it from me first on the arbitrage. And yeah, if you're trying to arbitrage, let me know. I might be, down to partner with some people if this is 100% above board, legal. We'll have to figure this out more and more. West Maui has reopened. It's obviously a high tourist area with a lot of revenue coming from tourism. We know that the devastation they saw with natural fires, with horrible fires, and now they're reopening for visitors for tourism. They had a wildlife fire that raged and killed 98 people and burned 2.1 acres. And so now they're really allowing, they want people to come back, I'm assuming, for the revenue. There's 5 hotels in the region that have begun accepting reservations. Occupancy rates are about 12%, and they're expected to climb to 32% by mid November. About 40% of Maui's GDP is tied to tourists. They spent 3.5 billion on the island in the first half of the year, and they supported thousands of jobs. 8K plus residents are now out of work, and Maui has lost 13 million a day since the fires. Some people want to delay the open. Let's not forget that 17K people have signed a petition to delay the open, re-criticizing the plan for not adequately consulting locals, some who have been temporarily housed in hotels. So that's something we want to keep watching, because it's going to be hopefully they do the right thing and get everybody aligned and straightened out in Maui. There was a few more interesting articles. One about shrink hitting retailers. So shrink can be looked at. When shrink hitting, it was shrink hitting returns. Some retailers are rescanning self checkout strategies. So shrink is, of course, we talked about it when the retailers is when theft or lost items, any of these different things. Um, their way to combat that is all the stuff you see locked up, chained up, so people can't steal it. Other strategies. So retailers have leaned into self checkout. They're taking a second look at the receipts and costs as losses pile up. A lot of big retailers are actually rethinking their self-scanning strategies, removing kiosks or adding new potential intrusive tech to make them less vulnerable. I'm seeing Amazon. We go to Whole Foods. Amazon now has the Palm. You can do a Palm thing. Walmart has announced that a handful of stores are being renovated to replace self-checkout lanes with OG registers. So they're going back. I guess apparently people are taking so much from the self-checkout that they're going back to the regular checkouts. Costco has started stationing workers at self-checkouts to check IDs against membership cards. Kroger invested in AIs that monitor customers as they bag. Wow. Whole Foods definitely has a camera there. They have people there that are watching. So it's pretty interesting. So we'll keep an eye on what they're doing there. Let's dive into questions of the week. This time, we'll be focusing primarily on banking questions. Think banking. And let's dive into the first one. What saving strategy is most effective? Saving 5 a day, saving 35 a week, 150 per month. I definitely think it's one of those trick questions, and it's more likely going to be 5 a day, because what? 5 a day times 30. Someone do the math for me on a regular month having 30. It's got to be saving 5 a day. And it's saving 5 a day. Benartzi and his colleagues at UCLA asked a group of participants if they would like to save 5 a day, another group they want to save 35 a week, and a third group whether they thought they could save 150 a month. The results were astonishing. Nearly 30% of participants said they could save 5 a day, while just 7% elected to save 150 a month. So yeah, it's just important to set goals when you're saving. It's like setting goals. Those are the things we work on, because setting a goal is just like super keeps you accountable. It's something to look for, to work for, to strive for. That's the main thing. A reason why people should be doing that, right? Keeps you accountable for your long-term goals. Rapid fire, next one. How quickly do you need to report a stolen debit card to get all your money back? Debit card. I would say, I would say within a week. I don't think there's any time frame. What debit card? I'd say a few days, because people use that pretty often, right? Before any unauthorized charges are made. Oh, wow. So if you report your maximum loss, so before any authorized charges are made, $0. Within 2 business days after you learn about the loss of or theft, that would be your maximum loss could be $50. And then more than 2 business days after the loss or theft, but less than 60 calendar days after your statement is sent to you, your maximum loss will be 500. So they'll front you up to those amounts based on when you let them know. Apparently, I'm sure some banks differ depending on what bank you use, but that's a kind of a barometer, it looks like. So that's interesting enough. I figured if you dispute it, you get your money back. I'm assuming if you dispute it, you get most, if not all, of your money back as soon as you realize. What percentage of Gen Zers prefer online banks? I already saw the answer, unfortunately, but 72%. That makes sense to me. Gen Z, young, they just want an online bank. They're not going to the store, to the bank branch. They can do everything from online. They're fluent in technology. This makes incredible sense to me. I could see it even being growing higher as the time goes on. One thing I wanted to note, there are a couple big, fun, exciting stuff coming up for New Street that we'll keep on the wraps for now. They are coming in the future, and I'll be able to unveil it. To invest in yourself. There's people that are afraid to invest in themselves, start things. You got to do that. You got to spend money to be able to do it correctly, the right money, efficient money to be able to really grow something that is worth a lot. Just another note for the people out there that are grinding. But with that, that's the episode this week. Make sure you share this with your family and friends, and we will talk next week.